especially to our visitors. It's great to have you here with us. Well, our theme this morning is Love at Work. Now, they say that you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. Well, it's probably much the same in the workplace. We don't always get a lot of choice about who we have to work alongside. So this morning, we're going to look at some of the issues that creates in our relationships as we work alongside people. And we're going to do that through drama, dance and music. And first up, we've got a song from our music team, and it's called Break Out of the Trance.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Second time, lucky. Okay, just a couple of things this morning. First, we have to take up our collection. That is, as a body of Christ, we're committed to giving. We believe that Christ has given to us, so we follow the biblical scriptures that says to return. If you're a visitor here with us this morning, please just let the bag go past. There's no expectation for you to put anything into it, but if you wish to, of course, then we will gratefully receive it. Just while that's being done, I'll just pray for that. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for what you have given us, and we thank you for the opportunity to return some of it back to you. And Lord, as we do that, Lord, I pray that you'll bless each person in this room today. You bless each one that's given and those that have been unable. But we pray, Lord, that you will continue to bless each one in you, and thank you for their lives and for what they do. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Just a couple of quick things. The church newsletter is available outside. If you didn't get one as you come in, please take one on your way out. Okay, there's some notices in there. If they're relevant to you, please follow up on it. Also, the special events notice, that's advertising the Seeker services for the next couple of months, November and the first month of December. The next one is not until the 21st of November, and that's entitled Good Grief, Claim Your Hand. Okay, so there's nothing next week, there's no special event next week, that's not until the 21st. Right now, we've got a drum.
I can see that, but why?
Stressed.
Stressed?
Yep, I'm stressed. Got all this work to do, I'm stressed.
Yeah, well, you have been working rather fast. Come on, you want to go to the toilet?
No, I just don't like working, so I try and do it as fast as I possibly can.
Well, no wonder you're stressed. You're bizarre and sick. And how can throwing paper relieve stress? Don't!
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so stress relieving watching you throw your nuts. Oh no!
What?
I picked pills.
Funny.
Now doesn't that make you feel better now?
No.
Listen, it will make you feel even better. You can throw this one at me.
I will not lower myself to your level.
Blah, 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 lower yourself. Just throw it. Throw it. I feel so much better.
What is wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Well, you're always so happy. You're so psychotic. Why?
Oh, I'm a Christian, and I love you. Gary!
What?
In the 9 months I've known you, that's the first time I've seen you smile. Oh, and the boss is behind you.
When you two have quite finished clowning around, I've got some work for you.
Yeah, we've finished hanging around, boss.
These stats need to be checked and on my desk by morning. That means you're going to have to work late. No problems with that, is there?
No,
Good.
What a knob. I hate that guy. I bet you don't love him.
Yeah, I know.
Who does he get?
Yeah, that may be true. But I got an email a while back, and it said, we are at our happiest when we contribute to the happiness of others.
Hey?
Don't ask me how it works, but it works. You should give it a try. Oh, you see, if I hate him, then I end up hating myself.
So, if you love him, then you don't hate yourself. If you love him, then you don't hate yourself.
Yeah, that's the one. You should give it a try.
No, not me.
Go on. next time he comes in, give it a shot. I dare you. In fact, I double dare you.
I don't think so.
Have you guys started work on those stats yet?
Come on. Do it.
What are you two up to?
I love you, Bill.
Oh no, you don't. I've got to go now.
Feel any different?
I feel so much better.
Hey, Mary, these are not stats. These are reports about us and our team. Listen to this. Since my last report, this employee has hit rock bottom and has started to dig. He said this too, that we would be out of our depth in a parking lot puddle.
Look. These employees are depriving a village somewhere of an idiot. Got a full six-pack. At least the plastic thing to hold it together.
What? Let me see. Uh-oh.
What?
There are 2 comments made about them.
Let me hear them.
You don't want it.
Tell me.
Okay, he said that he thinks you have been working with glue too long.
What?
And he said that the wheel is turning but the hamster is dead.
Right, that does it.
Gary, what are you going to do?
I'm going to smash his face in.
No, you can't. Remember love, remember?
I haven't forgot about love. I'm going to love sticking it up his nose sideways.
Gary!
Good morning once again. I hope you're enjoying the program so far. This is your chance to get involved, so if you could all stand please. It's part of the love series or love ballad if you like. We're going to sing again about God's love.
fool's work wearies him. He does not know the way to town. Moreover, when God gives any man wealth and possessions, he enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot and be happy in his work. This is a gift from God. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because nothing is better for a man under the sun than to eat, drink, and be glad. Then joy will accompany him in his work all the days of the life God has given him under the sun. We work hard with our own hands. When we are cursed, we bless. When we are persecuted, we endure it. When we are slandered, we answer kindly. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for his wrong, and there is no favouritism. Enjoy the rest of the service. Coming up now, we have a dance. Yeah, they're going to dance, and they're going to dance to a song called Love Is All You Need.
Let's give them another hand. It'd be so easy if it could be worked out just with love. I just think they did a wonderful job here. And but I think it's something that is being said in that song that we don't easily pick up on. And it might seem strange that we were going to talk about love in the workplace, and I went through a bit of a battle myself. I wanted to chicken out of speaking on this one. But the more we've travelled the journey, the more I see. It strikes me that in terms of love in the workplace, there are actually 4 areas of impact that we have on the world. Here they are. We have our family, the activity groups, that might be clubs or sporting places or whatever, church, and last of all, work. Today, we want to address the whole issue of that last one, work. One of the main areas of impact. And in fact, if you think about it, out of everything you do in life, you probably spend more time at work than anywhere else. Some of you, waking hours, some of you would claim I spend more time at home, but I suspect that that's actually not the reality. Work is a place that we live in. And I can think back, when I was younger, I came into a culture of work in the railways, trained as a fitter turner. I remember the first day there, I can still remember that the place smelt so strange. I don't know what your first impressions were, but as I embarked on the journey of work, one of the things I found is that I had embarked on a journey where the culture of the group, the culture of the workmates that I was located with, was a culture of dishonesty and of poor relationships. And I reckon that in most workplaces, to one degree or another, those two things exist. In the railways, the dishonesty thing, the poor relationship things were pretty high. I didn't mind work. Didn't have enough of it in the railways. We had $40 million losses some years, and we wanted more. We felt the government should pay us more, and we had very strong unions. And yet I remember when I was working in the tool store, which is a place where we made specialised tools, we had a closed grate so that the guys couldn't walk in and take stuff out of the tool store. There was valuable stuff there. And the railways, of course, you had to have a lockable tool store because with guys working inside it because of the dishonesty factor. So we had this locked tool store, and what we used to do all day, well, quite a lot of the day when we didn't have something particular to make, we had these great big ball bearings, and we made these mini golf clubs, and we dug holes in the concrete floor around the place, and we had a little golf course all around through the thing. You know, that was a culture we, worked in, if you can call it work. And then we got up to all sorts of mischief. One of the guys I worked with, his name was George, and unfortunately for him, some years earlier he had broken one of the cardinal rules and he had taken his glasses off as the hooter went for a smoko break. He switched the machine off, took his glasses off, and this machine had a bed that would have been probably from the far wall there to here long. And it used to travel. This bed used to travel backwards and forwards, and it used to shake metal. Well, he took his glasses off and a little hot piece of metal came flying off and took his eye out. And I sort of, when I first went to the railways, can't say I was probably the nicest person, and most of us aren't to some degree or another, but I used to delight in going up to George and tapping him on the left shoulder, and of course his left eye was the bung one, and he'd look around to see who it was, and I would follow him around in circles. And I couldn't see that I was hurting old George. And he turned out to be one of the nicest, kindest guys in the place. And I didn't understand. You see, the philosophy there was strange. If it came to a boss, you didn't talk to anybody who was over you. You didn't relate to other people around you well if they had a grey coat on and they were called a foreman or a sub-foreman or some other silly name, which most people had for the bosses. and yet it was nothing to do with them. I remember when I first I'd left the railways, I'd been gone a couple of years, and I'd managed to get a job which was fitter in charge of a workshop in Haimulka Rudkins. And I thought one day I had some time off work. I'd been called in to sort out some problems at night, and so I had a bit of time during the day, free to myself. And so I thought I'd go and see my old mates in the railways. I wandered into the railways, and here they all were, and I walked in, and several people that I'd been quite friendly with, I went up to, and they turned their back on me and walked off. So I eventually went to my closest friend in the railways. I said to John, what are these guys doing? And what's wrong? And he says, you don't know. In a sort of a really sort of disgusting sort of tone. I said, what? You're a boss now, aren't you? They didn't want to have anything to do with me. We'd been friends for years. And that was the kind of thing that sat there. As soon as you got something they didn't have, then there was no love to be shared. In fact, the love was very small. We did some really stupid things. I remember one occasion, we didn't always show respect for people. We had lots of time on our hands, and we had black toilet seats. We screwed brass screws through the toilet seats, and just to express our love to people. And I don't know if some of you are old enough to remember telephones used to crank the handle and other things. And we put little wires going through and out through the window, and we used to wait till somebody went in there. You could hear them in there, and you could hear them sitting on the seat because it creaked. And he'd go whang, whang, whang on the handle. And there'd be this almighty yell, and then the guys running all over the place trying to catch guys. You know? We were really had a good work attitude, eh? You know? I remember the boss saying to me, he said, Gary, for goodness sake, he says, I've given you enough work for today. He said, just spread it out. That was an hour after I'd started working. I'd finished the job he'd given me. And I said to him, well, haven't you got another job? No, we haven't got enough work for you at the moment, he said. And I said, well, I like to work. And he said to me, well, look, Gary, what I want you to do, you can do a bit at the beginning of the day, make yourself happy. He said, keep the rest of it in case the boss comes around, or just for the end of the day, the manager comes around. If the manager came around, we all had to look busy. Boy, if the manager had known some of the things we were making, he wouldn't have had much love for us, and we certainly did not have much love for him in the way that we treated him. I remember one occasion, one of the guys came in the morning with a caravan, said to the guy on the gate, look, I've just brought it in to get it fixed. During lunchtime, they staged a fight, and the guard on the gates went round the back of the bike stands to see what this fight was all about. And while he was around there, they towed the caravan back out again at lunchtime. Well, there was only one reason for that, because when 4:30 came, we knocked off work, out went the caravan again. Only came in once, went out twice. Guess what happened? Brand new caravan, just been built in the railways. No, there was no love, no respect. There was a real lack in that area. And I guess for most of us, whether it's down to the issue of stealing time, stealing pens, whether we show disrespect for the people we're working for, just because we're jealous of them, or for whatever reason, we have a problem in New Zealand. We really have a problem. And it's sitting in the workplace. I think if we changed our workplace, we could change our society. I think it would be far easier to change our workplace than try and change the All Blacks or somebody else at the moment, eh? No? What are we all about? So I want to ask this question. What are the effects of not getting or giving real respect and love at work? Because there are some effects, and I think we need to think about it, because if we think about those issues, then I think it'll help us look at what we need to look at. The first thing is this. Junk. When we have problems at work, when we lack love at work, when there are issues at work, it leaves us with tension, and that junk always, doesn't matter how hard we try, will always come home. It enters the home, it enters the family. And it's made worse if the home is the workplace. You see, we're not only talking about people who go to work, but people who work even at home. People who know what it is to be a house parent. people who work wherever they are. The judge can come home. And so if you're at home already and the husband or wife comes home, the judge will come out there. Or if you've come home from somewhere else where you happen to work, and that work can involve all sorts of things. It can be school, university, it can be your occupation. Whatever it is, if it's work, then it's work. And if it's pressure and a lack of love there, then we will tend to bring it home. Don't you agree, yeah?
Yeah.
I just can't hear you. Yeah? Isn't that true? That's what happens. Pressure is like a pressure cooker. Now, we don't see many of these nowadays because they've come up with these new dangle-fangled things. But in the old days, when I was younger, they used to have aluminium pots. They were called pressure cookers. And what you used to do is you used to put the lid on with the handle, you twist it around, it would lock closed, had a little wee steam valve on top, and it was just purely a weight. And when the pressure of the steam got so high that it could beat the weight, then it would blow off some steam rather than blow the pot apart. Well, one of the things about the pressure cookers is that people used to lose the weight that used to go on top. So you know what they used to do? Some people used to shove things in the hole. Now, it might have seemed alright, you know, they only shoved something small, a piece of rubber or something like that, and it'd be fine. But the trouble was, often what would happen is the pot would build up huge pressure and have dire consequences. Some people actually managed to blow them apart. Some real workmanship going on there, eh? But that's what it's like. We are like that. Sometimes we shove a rubber bung in where there should be some love happening in our lives. See, love is all you need is sort of partly true. The song that was sung earlier. Can somebody unplug that thing? Love is all you need. It's partly true. In fact, I think it makes a big difference in the workplace. I don't know whether any of you have seen this. It's a book. I don't know whether they still do it, but the ANZ Bank, no advertising, BNZ are here too. And some other banks probably represented, so you're welcome. The ANZ Bank insisted that a lot of their staff at a certain level of their leadership management teams had to read this book. Story about a Ricardo Semler. A really interesting story. A guy who knew how to make his workplace a loving workplace. And I think ANZ were trying to do it. I hope they do. That's what I really do hope. It hasn't happened yet. But I hope they succeed. You see, the thing is that what happened, this business in Brazil is so successful that they have thousands. I mean, I think if I remember rightly, it was around 23,000 people are on their books looking to work for Semco, the company. Incredible. Why would people want to work in this place? I can tell you why. Because the guy who started it knew how to make love happen in the workplace. He showed respect for his employees. So if you're in a management position, don't expect it from the bottom if you're not giving it from the top. Isn't that true, yeah? Plenty of you guys who are working at the bottom here know what it's like. And then another thing that happens. In the workplace itself, people will do stupid things. They'll get into arguments. It'll escalate. And it'll spill into the smoko room. It'll spill into the lunchroom. Things will happen. And I know kind of stupid extremes it can go to. We had a story, a thing that happened in the railways with an Englishman and a Pacific Island guy. Both of them didn't like each other for some reason. I don't know why. I can't understand it. But they ended up feeling really tense about their work situation. And they took it into the smoko room, and this particular day, the guys used to have these poker schools in the workplace. They didn't bet on big money, they just a cent, I think it was a cent a card or something like that. Well, they had an argument over 1 cent. So they decided to fight it out, but they knew if they fought it out in the railways, they'd lose their job. So they arranged straight after work to meet after work and out of the railways. In actual fact, they didn't realise they were standing on railway land when this happened. And so they got so angry at each other that they had to fight it out. They just had to do it. And it wasn't just a sense in this game, it was the fact that these guys were feeling disillusioned with their workplace and were feeling frustrated because they didn't know how to make love work in the workplace. So they fought, and unfortunately one of the guys, and I won't tell you which culture it was, but one of them had done some martial arts stuff. Defence. Ha ha ha. He struck the other guy in the neck round here to stun him. Didn't know the other guy had a dicky heart and killed him. That's when love, a lack of love in the workplace, has its ultimate edge. It becomes totally destructive. It was in the news at the time, and it was huge news because they had been fighting on railway land. They hadn't realised that the car park was considered to be there. I think it was pretty obvious, but I don't know why. But that's what they said. You see, if we're not feeling satisfied at work, it may not be because of the job itself. In fact, I reckon you can make any job interesting. I had this job once, and they had these things that hold the brake assembly together on the railway carriages. And you can imagine there's hundreds of those around New Zealand. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And I had this job, this piece of casting, this metal this long, about that wide, and about that deep. And I had to put it in a machine, milling machine, and I had to take some cutters across this thing, and it would take about 20 minutes to do one cut across one of these things. I'd pull it out, put another one in, and it'd take 20 minutes to do this one cut across this horrible rough casting, pull it out. Chris knows what I'm talking about. He's done boring jobs like this. Most of us have done boring jobs. Some of us dealt with pens, you know? And this was my boring job. And I stood there, and I was a fairly young Christian at the time, and I really wanted to make my work interesting because I'd been reading the Bible, and it talked about this kind of thing, you know, that work can be a place of joy. Well, this job wasn't the great thing of joy. So what could I do to make it interesting, I thought to myself. So in the end I thought, I know what I want to do. While it's doing the cut, I'll do something else. I wanted to do something else work-oriented, but the boss didn't like that idea, so I had to chuck that one. So what I did is I got a piece of plastic, and I started carving this piece of plastic. I'd never ever done any carving before, but this is what happened. I was a young Christian in the early days of the Christian world. One of the things you used to be able to recognise each other with is you could go around like this and you go like that and everybody would know you're a Christian. Oof. One way, Jesus' side. That's what it was. So I thought, I'll make one of those things. I'll make one out of plastic, and here it is. Still have it to this day. I hand carved it. Spent hours and hours and hours hand carving it. Guys kept coming up to me and said, "What are you doing, Gary?" And I said to them, "Well, you know, it's a really boring job, so I decided to make this thing." They said, "Well, what on earth is it?" You know, just points to the toilet, you know. Right? That's what one of the guys said to me. I thought, that's pretty ingenious, you know. It does look like one, eh? But no, it wasn't that. For me, it was an expression of my love for God, and I was doing it in the workplace. And the interesting thing that happened, the guys came around, they looked at this thing and said, "Man, that looks interesting," what, you know. And they said, "Well, why are you making that?" And so I said to them, "You know, I really love God, and I kind of want to make my work enjoyable." And I was getting bored on this thing, so I'm making this, and just to remind me there's only one way for Jesus. I tell you what, an interesting thing happened when I was making this. Several guys came around and kept coming around to have a look at it, have a talk about it. And something happened between us that has made me keep this thing. I would never throw it away because to me it's really special. I have some fond memories of some really lovely times in my workplace. You see, it's who we are. And I'll get Marilyn to show the next too. It's who we are that creates problems. Who I am, that's it. It's who we are that creates problems for us. And I don't care whether we claim to be a Christian or not. I often find there's very little difference for a lot of Christians between a lot of Christians and a lot of people who are not Christians in the workplace. I don't know why. To me it seems very obvious that if you're a Christian, you should be different everywhere. Isn't that true? And if you're a visitor here this morning and you're not a Christian, then you've got a Christian friend, you tell them. I give you permission to tell them, you should be different. But I want to challenge you too, that you can be different this morning. Really different in the workplace. To the degree that what would happen is that you would enjoy work so much that you'd go home to your wife and family and they would enjoy you coming home. To the degree that tensions are dealt with in a different way. To the degree where there's huge change. And I think there are two key elements to that change that need to happen. The first one, which Marilyn will bring up for us, is in terms of attitude. Attitude, the attitude that we have will change things. It isn't the attitude the other person has that'll change it. It has to begin with me. Isn't that true? It has to begin with me. I know I went through tremendous trauma when I first became a Christian, and I realised what I'd been doing to George with his pokey, me tapping him on the shoulder, the one with the eye, lost eye. I went to George. I found it really, really hard to do this. I went to George and said, George, I've just become aware of what I've really been doing to you inside. I just thought I was having fun with you, but when I really think about it, I was being mean to you. And it wasn't very nice. I'm really sorry. George and I, and a guy who worked with him called Les, we became so close together. Both those men were older, near retirement. They took me like a son from that day onward. And up to that day, I had a friendship with them, but not a close friendship. You see, because Les worked with George, and he overheard what I said. And his respect for me went up a few notches. Actually, I suspect it probably went up about 20 or 30 notches. Because I didn't deserve much respect before that in terms of George. And we can be a real pain. And the attitude I had to deal with was the important thing. One of the verses that was read today said this: a fool's work wearies him. He does not know the way to town. Now, you might not understand fully what this is saying straight away unless you're used to reading a lot of the writings of Ecclesiastes and the Proverbs, because there's a lot of some little sayings like this that have meaning. Well, there's some key things here. The first thing says that a fool's work wearies him. Somebody who is being foolish will end up feeling wearied by their work. Now, why would it be? Why would it be? It's because they're being a fool. They're not handling things the right way. And what the impact of that is that what it does, because they've got the wrong attitude, they feel lost. They have no direction, to the point where they can't even find their way to town. There's a little saying that's behind that. It's talking about being directionless. It's talking about losing your way. It's talking about not really being what you are capable of being. So a fool's work wearies him. You may have the best job in New Zealand, or in the world even, in terms of what everybody else thinks. But your attitude can make it the worst possible job on earth. Isn't that true? When I moved from the railways, I went to another company in the pumping and irrigation work. I loved this type of design kind of side that went with the work. But not long after I'd started there, they discovered, one of the guys got sick, and they discovered because of that I could work a lathe really well. And I ended up doing this job, and I excelled in doing this job, and unbeknown to me, this man had been making about 50 of these castings a day, or turning 50 of these castings out a day. And I upped the revs up to 900 revs instead of 100 revs, and I was knocking out by the end of the week hundreds. In fact, I got to the point where I knocked over 1,000 out in a day. And it was, I was going for it. But the trouble that happened then was that the promise that they had made to me when I took on the employment that I wouldn't be stuck on the machinery, they were never going to let me off that machinery. They stuck me on that lathe and they kept me on that lathe to the point where I resented even going to work. You see, they hadn't given me respect and love. I tried everything in the right way to deal with the issue. I even had problems with the foreman in the end because that particular foreman decided that, I ought to be on the lathe because I was good on it. Didn't matter whether I liked the job or not. That was the reason I ought to be there, he decided. So here I was stuck on this job I didn't like. And he'd always interfere with the work I was doing. It was never, he always had ideas and he almost killed himself once from interfering with a job I was on. Well, he did. He told me to tie some straps back onto the chuck instead of taking them off properly, taking rivets out. You can do it this way. It's a shortcut, he says. I said, well, you show me what you're wanting to do. When I started the machine up, I remember standing there, pulling the lever, hanging back like this because I knew what was going to happen. That thing that he had made didn't hold and it flew off. Well, gave him a real shock because he'd been in his office right at the second it happened to fly off. He walked out of his office, he's about to walk past the office door pillar when this casting came screaming through and smacked through the hole straight through the wall and damaged the pillar. I'm talking dangerous stuff here. But he had a really difficult attitude towards me because he knew that I didn't want to do that job. Now I think I probably could have made it really enjoyable, looking back at it. But the thing that I found is that I had an element of distrust towards them because the promises they had made and the things that were happening were two different things. And I needed to say to them really clearly, right at that point, if you're going to try and make me stay on this machine, I will never do that. I'm not happy to do that kind of work. But I want to show respect out to you and say that there's obviously a misunderstanding. Have you forgotten the promise you made to me when I started work? I should have done it. I didn't do it. Instead, I went and found another job. That's what I did. I found a better job too, a lot better. They offered me the foreman's job because he was about to leave in 3 months. They said, hang in, Gary, stay with us. We won't make you stay on the lathe anymore. I said, too late. Bird in the hand is better than one that's being offered to you. That's what I felt. And I went into an environment that was so different. Lamel Karadkins. Environment I was in, the only trouble we had was with the 5 foremen who were half a scale above me in terms of wages. They had authority that I didn't have. Trouble is, I was there servicing all their men, looking after 53 different guys who were working under their production schedules. And I was used as a ping pong ball and I was very unhappy. But this time I'd learnt my lesson. Because what actually happened, I decided I need to deal with this appropriately. This is a good job, I don't want to lose it. So I went and I talked with the manager. I said to him, this is what I'm feeling, I'm feeling like a ping pong ball being knocked around. Paul said to me, he said, Gary, what do you think should be done? And I said, well, it's kind of, I feel in a difficult position here, Paul, because I don't want to feel like I'm putting myself forward. But I said, you either give one of them the right of decision as to which department has priority for supervision, or you go the other way and you give me the authority. And I said, but I sort of feel awkward about saying that. He said to me, Gary, I trust you. The memo will go out now to that effect. Don't worry about it. So I had the job. From that point on, an interesting thing happened. The dynamics changed. You see, I really cared for each of these guys. I really cared for their departments. One of them was claiming to be a Christian, as it happened. He's quite a difficult person to work with. And, but I had a passion to help these guys. I had a passion, I had a respect for them, even though they had treated me with disrespect. And one of the things that actually happened in that workplace is that we became extremely good friends. Sure, there used to be a bit of spoofing and a bit of having each other on and that. And I always remember the day when one of them thought it was fun to pretend because I was a Christian that Gary was an angel. We were playing darts and he he says, "Hey guys!" And they all turn around because he was a foreman, and you did not turn around if it was a foreman, you know, this particular guy in particular. He said, "Look at this, this is Gary." And he goes like this, and he goes. And the dart flies and peters out and pins in the bottom of the wall. I don't know to this day whether I did the right thing afterwards. You work it out for yourself. You tell me afterwards if you want to. A few days later I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about it a long time because I didn't like being picked on as a Christian just because I was a Christian. And so I thought, I want to shut this guy up. Don't want him doing this to me again. So I said, lunchtime came. We're playing darts again. I said, "Hey guys!" And everybody turns around. It's not unusual. Gary's never done this before, so they all turn around, you know. I said, "This is," and I named the guy, call him Bert. He wasn't really Bert. So this is Bert. I got the dart and boom! And I sang it straight on the board, and the board was curved like that afterwards, you know. Really sent it in. It was sort of quiet, secretive chuckling going on. Nobody was willing to openly laugh because I knew that this Bert would get at them. Never ever happened again to me, but I kind of don't feel that good about it afterwards. I think there might have been a better way, don't you? I don't know. You can work it out for yourself. You know, people constantly change jobs because of the fact that they don't know how to make their love work in the workplace. And I don't think it's necessary to change jobs. In fact, I think for some people it's a terrible disadvantage if they'd stayed in one place. They, at the end of the day, probably would have been far better off than if they kept moving. Now, there are some people who are entrepreneurs who, by moving, progress and do themselves better. They probably do their family worse quite often, but, you know, that's the way it goes for some people. But I reckon we need to be people who are going to deal with the attitude issues, really. Now, what are we going to do when we're talking to our workmates? What kinds of things are we going to do? The song that was sang earlier talked about breaking out of the trance. New Zealanders need to. We Kiwis need to break out of the trance, the way we treat other people above us and below us and around us. Two people I know recently went for the same job. One person got it, the other person didn't, obviously. And their friendship was finished from that day onwards. That really is stupid. Don't you think? That really is kind of stupid. See, I think the best thing we can hope is not just for ourselves, but if we hope for our brother or our sister, our friend at work, the best for them, they're going to be grateful for the encouragement. Whether they do better than us or not shouldn't actually really be the issue. Because otherwise we're only feeding our own agendas. You know that something's different in some workplaces, and I showed you this book, Ricardo Semler's book earlier. One person with a great attitude can make a huge difference. I want to say this to you. If you despise people, you will be despised. If you despise people, you will be despised yourself. If you have bad attitudes, you will reap what you sow. God says that really clearly. Work hard, show respect, and love to the people around you. Have the right kind of attitude, and at the end of the day, you'll be better off. And maybe you won't be that greatly better off with some of the people you work with. But I'll tell you one thing. It's a start to being better off in yourself and towards your family and with God. But ultimately, it's going to affect the relationships around you. The second is another passage that we read today. And it said something really interesting. It says, work hard with our hands. He said, we work hard with our hands. When we are cursed, we bless. When we are persecuted, we endure it. When we are slandered, we answer kindly. I want to ask you this question. How do you respond? The second heading under this sheet that Marilyn's going to put up for us talks about our responses. Who am I? How do we respond? How much impact do we have? You see, Paul, who's written this little verse that we read, said that he worked hard with his hands. He said when he's cursed, he blessed. He said when he was persecuted, he was picked on for some reason or another. We endure it. And when we are slandered, we answer kindly. How many of us do that, really? When somebody curses you, you know, one of the most powerful things I discovered sometime after I became a Christian, somebody said something really nasty, and they call you something or other, you know, you fall into pieces, whatever. They have all sorts of names, and you'll have your own ones that people have called you. And I found that one of the best things I could do, because of a friend who encouraged me lots, is I could actually turn around and I could say to them the right things instead of the wrong things. See, the temptation is when a person curses you is to go back, oh, get off you. Right? I am stunned with people who claim to have gotten their lives together but can't control their mouths. I'm stunned with it at times. I had an instance last week where I was totally stunned by a person I thought better of, who left me absolutely floored because of the words that they used. And they wonder why people don't respect them. I've never heard them tell me that they wonder why, I just see it in them. The reactions, the things that happen, the things that go about. And the other thing is when we get tough times, what do we do with them? I had some other stupid things happen to me in railways. I remember once being pushed over by a guy just because I was a Christian. And I had my mother's polished stones I just had polished by another guy at work who had made a drum at work who polished stones, you know? The way it goes. I was walking home and this guy decided to push me over, trip me up and slam me into the concrete. I hurt. I got to be honest, that time I blew it. I didn't say the right things. I said some things that I would have been better not to have said. And I regret that to this day because I lost any hope of any friendship with that guy at all. Sure, he might have deserved it in the terms of the way some people think. But really, what was he looking for? If I had been able to give him love instead, wonder what would have happened. I had another situation where I think I acted the right way, but boy, it was serious. My wife actually got such a fright, she wanted me to leave the railways. And I did. I was working in a small cubicle. It was only about 6 foot by 6 foot, and I lined up some wires and was about to burn the shellac off the wires so the wires could be soldered. I picked up the matchbox, I picked up a match, I was about to strike the match when the door opened in this sort of hut thing. The guy who looked in, turned white as a sheet, grabbed my arm and threw me out. And outside the hut there was this bench, steel bench. I hit the bench, went sailing over it, landed in a pile of gearbox bits and pieces out of railway, out of locomotives. And I got mad with him. What did you do that for? I didn't get out of control. He said, Gary, I just saved your life. I stood there. What do you mean you just saved my life? So when I opened the door, he said some idiot had put a gas nozzle in the bottom and a hole in the wall. And he said, when I opened the door, he said, you obviously couldn't smell it, but the place is full of gas and you're about to strike a match. And running away, it was better to grab your arm and throw you out first. You know, very dangerous. I went to the guy concerned. You know, the amazing thing was I'd been showing heaps of love to the guy who did it to me. I'd been picking him up every morning and taking him to work. He thought it was funny to put a gas nozzle in and turn it on. He knew I was lighting matches, didn't he? Wanted to see what would happen, I guess. Spaghetti Gary or something, I'm not sure. The way we handle things, the way we handle them is important. And I had to say to that particular guy, after I initially went mad at him, I said, man, what's wrong? Is there something wrong, bro? Something wrong, bro. Have I done something to offend you? No, you haven't done anything. What are you doing? I'm just bored at work. What would have happened if you'd been able to change that? And then the last thing that Paul said to do is to answer kindly. When somebody says something nasty, answer kindly. Hey, listen to this carefully. I believe that many times we interpret things that people say in a negative stance, from a negative stance, when in actual fact that was not what was intended. And when we answer unkindly, we reap what we've just sown. We live in constant fear as humans sometimes of rejection. And yet we couldn't give a hoot whether God rejects us or not. We're more concerned about whether the guy around us or the woman around us rejects us. I tell you what, I think it's the wrong priority. I really do. If I answer kindly because I know that that's what God expects of me, then I've done the right thing. I stand acceptable by Him. And usually, this is amazing truth for us Kiwis to discover. Usually, the other person responds in like kind. They appreciate it. Even if they had a hard word to say, and you answer kindly, it takes the sails out of their winds, doesn't it? Takes the wind out of the sails. You guys are slow today. It was a fumble. Love will only go two ways when there's mutual respect, but the only way that you're going to start it is not wait for the other person to move. And it doesn't only happen with our fellow human beings, it happens with God as well. Happens really well with God. God says, you love Him, He'll give you the best. God has a comment to make. It goes like this. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for Him, for God, for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. Hey, this is interesting. Even if the person you're working for is a right pain in the butt, if you get a right attitude and you don't sit there and think, I'm working for Scrooge, I'm working for God here, I'm doing my best for Him, then I want to tell you right now that according to what God says, you've got an inheritance with Him. You've got a right to things that other people won't even have. It is the Lord Christ you can be serving. Paul says you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for his wrong. And with God there is no favoritism. The thing is, the bottom line is this, is that God really wants us to grapple with who we are. And it works out in the home, but the workplace is another place we spend a lot of time. And I want to ask you today, are you going to show respect to yourself by showing respect to others and to God? I'd like to suggest that life is meant to be whole. There's a whole lot of people going around nowadays talking about wholeness. Wholeness isn't what you do to your body, what you do to your mind. Wholeness isn't what you allow other people to do to you. Wholeness is who you are when you stand in front of God. Who you are when you stand in front of your neighbour. We're all going to die one day. Most of us think of wholeness as how long we can just keep ourselves alive. Can I suggest that that's a low value? Can I suggest that if we really are going to love, we've got to work it out in the workplace, we've got to work it out in our homes. But most of all, we've got to work it out with God. Because the other two things will be easy to work out if we get that one right. And I'm just going to pray the prayer right now. And what I'd like you to do is to feel a confidence, to be able to, in the morning, on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to be able to say, today's going to be a great day. And all week's going to be a great week, and I can get out of bed on the right side, and I don't have to be a grump to my wife or my husband or my for my family. I don't have to be a pain in the butt when I get to work to anybody. Because I'm going to love in a way I've never done it before. Some of us get pretty close minds about whether we're willing to change or whether we need change. I want to say we need to be repaired. Yeah? Some of us have lacked a lot of love in our lives, and because we lack a lot of love, we feel we can't give it. That is absolute rubbish. Can I say that from a personal perspective? From a real close personal perspective? If that was an excuse, I wouldn't be standing here today. It's not an excuse at all. It's not an excuse. People go through lots and lots of stuff saying, well, I need to do this, I need to do that to get myself sorted out. The only thing you need to do is get yourself sorted out with God, really. And all the other stuff will follow. See, when we really learn to love, when we really learn to love God, then it's worth having. So let's talk to Him about it now. If you want to join me, feel free. You can either leave your eyes open or close your eyes. Father God, right now, we're some of us are thinking about things we haven't thought about before. Some of us have been aware of it when we've stolen time, or maybe even just a simple thing like a pen. We've known we're doing wrong. We're lacking real love. And we're even lacking the opportunity to receive and give love, to exchange what real love's all about, not just get possessed with this whole sexual thing that goes on in society. And we ask you today to take us and help us reshape our lives so that we will be people who will go out from this place knowing that you love us and knowing that we can change the world that's around us. Because we learn to love our neighbour. We learn to truly work out what it is to love ourselves as well. So God, we're sorry for the times when we've been unloving toward you. And we know you've kept giving us love, and you've kept giving us lots and lots of love. Sometimes we've resented you because we've wanted you just to control things, when all the time you've wanted us to learn to love you and to learn to love those around us. God, teach us how to love ourselves, because it's out of our own wellspring that you've created for us that we're able to give the best. So help us and cause us to be people who are going to be change agents in our workplace, so that Simcoe in Brazil won't be the only place where real love exists, where people want to work because the place is a good place to be. Help us to change the environment we live in, we work in, and we love in. In Jesus' name. And they all said, Amen. I pray that you'll go forward this week. And I'd like you, if you're not part of the church here, I'd love you to feel free to talk with us afterwards, to talk with your friends, and you've come with friends, or talk with one of us who've been up here. I pray that you'll really discover a new dynamic in life, because God's got it to offer. Not every Christian's got it worked out yet, so don't go pointing the finger at them. It's your responsibility to stand before God, and you need to work it out. But let's show some real deep appreciation for the team for so much work. Well, have a great day. I hope you enjoy it. God bless you.